You're listening to the Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast, brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technological advanced silhouette decoys on the market, and Vortex Canada, the force of optics.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430, episode 68. We got a gooder for you tonight. We've got Eric Massey coming to us all the way from the great state of Kansas. Don't hold it against him because there are some wing nuts that are from Kansas, but don't like tie him into that. He's one of the good ones with Bobby Hayes. So Eric is with Tanglefree. He's going to talk to us all about some exciting stuff that's coming on with Tanglefree that's this season that you may not have seen that's on their website and stuff like that. But we got Phil finally in his new home, in his new man cave, and he's loving it, and he's trying to decor it up. So if you got any pictures of Phil that you want to send so he can put it on his wall, please do. Right. Mark is outside the nation's capital. He is getting ready for his first big buck hunt tomorrow. So he's getting pretty excited, and he's took some time out tonight to come hang out with us and talk to Eric. So Eric, buddy, thanks so much for coming on. I know you're a busy man, and you know, somebody's always asking for something. Everybody needs something these days. So I really do appreciate you taking some time out of your evening and coming and hanging out with us and having a chat.
Oh, no problem at all. I appreciate the chance to always talk about it. So thank you guys. And I watched Sean Stahl and I went back a couple things. And so I love what you guys are doing. I think you guys are doing a great job. So
wow, awesome.
I like the discussions and everything. Your guys' format is great. So
that's a huge compliment, buddy. Thank you very much. See, Mark, we can tell some of those fellas that give us grief over our, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, no, Eric, buddy, that's a huge, that's a huge compliment, buddy. You've been in this game for a long time. And to some of the kids that are listening or watching, before YouTube, we used to have these little shiny discs that we used to put into a player that were called DVDs. And that's how old Eric is because he was doing DVDs. So you've been around for a long time, buddy. So that's a huge compliment to come from you. And you've been with the company right from start. You've been in the trenches with these guys for a long time. And, brand loyalty, we sort of kind of touched on it a little bit before we hit the record button, but it seems like I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's as important to people anymore to, especially when it comes to sponsorships and pro staffing and that kind of stuff. It seems like people are just, what are you going to give me today? Without me having to do friggin' anything really.
Yeah, it's, the Tanglefree story, what's really cool about it, or what was cool to me about it was, I was in the game and doing some DVDs and doing a lot of things. And I had got introduced to, and you guys are going to hear me refer to them as the Foskett family. That's who owns Tanglefree. And I say family because that's what we are. That's what they are to me and everything. I got introduced to him at Rogers Sporting Goods. So you guys,
we know it.
Was always one of the biggest shows in sort of the Midwest, big calling contests all the time. And a friend of mine had introduced me to Tanglefree. And I had to look them up. They had a line and an anchor at the time and some decoys that were private labeled under some other things. I was actually really down on pretty much the entire industry. I was really down on calling contests. I was down on kind of everything. and really was not looking to sort of get back into anything. I was kind of just done having my way, didn't like a lot of the stuff that was going on with the Avery Ants and that team and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had met Corey Foskett, who's the president of Tanglefree. It's really Corey and his sister. Her name's Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
Met the family through them. And I went out, and the first thing I had heard, what's crazy, is that the family was not big waterfowl hunters. So I thought, that's interesting. Let's see
Mm-hmm.
how this is going to work.
Yeah.
And I went out to lunch with Corey, and we talked, and I thought, wow, like what a breath of fresh air. There was like integrity, loyalty. He was saying things that I was like, wow, and I didn't know if he was going to make it. I was like, the things you're talking about are really important to me, but unfortunately they just don't exist in this industry right now.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked if I would take a look at some products, and I said absolutely, and he was like, do you want anything? Do you need anything? And I said no. I said let's just start as friends.
Mm-hmm.
He had some trust issues, and I had some trust issues from just all the things that were going on in the industry.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was where you had to try to get that big name, right? You wanted a name, and you wanted to put it on your blinds, and you wanted a signature series, right? Everybody was doing a signature series. And it was like, why don't we just try to make a really good product? Why don't we just have real integrity about our partners that we're working with? And then let's do excellent customer support, and let's try to carve out, our little piece of the pie. And I say pie because reality is as big as this seems, it's actually pretty small.
It is.
And you're trying to grow in this one space. I mean, it's so weird that we're designing products I can tell you exactly how many people buy waterfowl stamps. I can tell you exactly how many people, are hunting, and that's your customer. So I can't grow, more than that. I can pass it on, and I can try to do that, and I can try to do it the right way, but I can't, expand outside of anything waterfowl. We didn't want to do anything else with deer, turkey, or anything like that, even though all of us are really avid turkey hunters and deer and everything. But waterfowl was sort of our niche. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to start with the most basic, which was the duck decoy. That process is kind of a crazy process. You guys have probably seen that as molds and paint, and how do you get the paint right when you send it overseas, and it comes back to you and it's purple and pink, and you're like, that's not even close. Like, how did that even work? So, but we had to get a foundation. We had to start there, and we started with as simple as a good duck and goose decoy.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to do plastic. What we did was we wanted it to we did a fully flocked duck decoy at the time. We called it the Migration Mallard, and it was foam filled.
Mm-hmm.
And we got that sort of foam filled from Tanglefree's original roots in 1970 is California. Divers, things like that, and everyone shooting all the decoys, and we wanted foam filled. We didn't want them to sink, that type of thing. And that was really sort of our first project together. Me and Tanglefree was the Migration Mallard. Let's fill it with foam. Can we make it in, will it not weigh 10 pounds a decoy? And it was just a cool process. It was the first time I had been on a project that was sort of paper to finished product. It was cool. I liked it. And then, all of a sudden, Corey and I just started becoming, friends and family and things like that. We vacation our families together.
That's awesome.
Way more than any type of business relationship or anything. And now we really enjoy those types of things. I know you had had asked me earlier about like some of my favorite products. There's so many of them, but my favorite ones are the ones that started from sketches in bars on napkins, and we took them all the way through what is a crazy process to to have somebody in a factory that is 24 hours ahead of you trying to talk to them. Like, their English is not great, and you're trying to comprehend this or whatever. But the finished product, when you're done with it, is just really a cool process.
Eric, like, so for our listeners that don't know, so the very first thing, so let's say you done up your sketch and you sort of got, you got this idea in your mind. This is what I want. Is it right to assume that then you had to go find, that Decoy Carver to make the model for you before you start going overseas? Like you find your Decoy Carver and you tell him what you want, and then he makes that initial, this is the bird that I'm in love with. This is what I want all our decoys to be modeled after. Is that correct?
Yeah. Decoy wise, it starts with a carving, right? It starts with a Decoy Carver. We've had a number of them, but it starts with a Decoy Carver, and then it starts with paint. And now you guys have seen some of those. They're amazing, right? I mean, those people are super talented. It's taking that carving and that paint and trying to do a plastic molded decoy that looks like it. And that is a tough process. But I love to sit here and say everything is made in America, and we would love to do that. It's not reality. For us, it's just not it's not there. So that process of it is difficult. But it starts with a carving, and then it starts with a paint. And originality, right, is everybody started rebranding. We rebranded in 2014, and that was one of the coolest projects that I got to work on. But everybody rebranded, and we want to all use names like originality, innovation. We use terms like that. It's a duck and it's a goose, and I can only do so many postures. I can only do so many paint jobs. Before you can, and they've all been tried, right? They've all been tried and they've all been done. People have tried decoys with one leg. Well, that's actually what geese and ducks do. They're always standing there, and the primary's out on the side, and they're one leg. People tried to make that decoy, and people laughed, but that's actually a real pose. That's a real posture. But people, I don't know when it was, but we went to real shelf appeal, right? We turned the corner sometime in about 2015, 2016, and we went to shelf appeal. We wanted something that someone could pick up and be like, wow, like that, it has the shelf appeal. We wanted to stay a little bit away from that. We wanted to get things in people's hands that worked. And we found the right trusted advisors and the people around us, but that's kind of what we've stuck with. We want to make things that work for people, that help people, help people kill them, That's what we want.
And you mentioned, when you just first started talking to the family, and you had talked about, they had said the key words that you liked, and customer service and stuff. And I can tell you, I won a Tanglefree. It was almost like a duffel bag, but it had wheels on it, and it was awesome. It was awesome for those weekend trips. Anyways, the seam busted down on the end of it, right? So I just called up the customer support, and because I won it, like, I didn't pay any money for it. I just won the friggin' thing. So I just more or less told them, I'm like, hey, listen, I haven't abused this bag whatsoever, and the seam is coming undone. And so the bag was discontinued by the time that I had messaged them, but they sent me, so the customer service sent me a dozen decoys. And they were like, listen, like it sucks. I'm sorry, we can't replace your bag. And it was an awesome, I would have rather had the bag than the decoys, honestly, because it was that good of a bag. But that was the customer service. They were like, no, we don't have the bag anymore, but here's a dozen decoys. And I was like, fuck, awesome. This is wicked.
Something that people probably don't know about. I mean, listen, all of us either have other jobs or 2 or 3 jobs, but we all had previous lives. And one of the things that the Foskett family, Corey in particular, comes from like call center and customer support.
Right.
That was his thing. He was, so that's always been a really big priority for him. I try to stay in my own lane. I do get a lot of those emails, from everybody that's like, hey man, this bag broke and this kind of thing or whatever. So I try to stay in my own lane and do that, but they do have fantastic customer support. It's always been one of the priorities.
What do you have any Tanglefree products with you tonight that you could show off? Because the big thing, and maybe I'll steal some of your thunder here, but when Tanglefree went and aligned with Optifade, like that just seemed like a relationship that was just bound to nothing but good things that happen on both, right? Like it was such a revolutionary camo pattern that came out, and you guys were the first ones, right? Like nobody else had this.
We were, yeah. So Browning, I believe, had like maybe a duffel bag.
Okay.
Browning had a license that I think they made a gun case or something like that, but we were the first waterfowl partner, and it was unbelievable to navigate because as you guys know, there's people behind Sitka. It's Sim, and it's it's a lot bigger things, right? And, Gore itself is a large animal, and trying to navigate through that for the paperwork, I feel like now, what we did was sort of let people just kind of climb over top of us, and everybody's doing it. But yeah, that was a process. But of course, we were able to, do it in only some products at first, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted it done in that layout blind, right?
Mm-hmm.
We wanted the layout blind, and we wanted some of those other things. But yeah, I mean that pattern, the way that Sitka went about doing that, I think really changed brand and marketing. I mean, we now have waterfowl people that have jobs that are called brand and marketing officers, right?
Yeah.
Branding and things like that. We took that. In 2014, I don't know if you guys remember, we had just a large scroll of Tanglefree, and it had sort of a line that came off the E, and it had a weight, and that was our logo, right?
Yep.
That was our hat. That was our, that was everything.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what Sitka was doing. We had some friends there, and we thought, man, the logo itself was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It was clean, crisp. It was simple.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have ducks falling down, doing things. It was cool. They were cool guys. They were, you can debate where they've gone now, but we wanted some of that, and we were like, man, we need to be cool. That's what. And we're not very cool guys. We wanted to be cool.
Yeah.
So we did it. We rebranded, and we came out with a logo that sort of, is it's pintail. It's the original pintail, but we did sort of 3 feathers in it, and we did the hashtag 3 feathers, and we kind of did a relaunch, and it was awesome. It was awesome. But that Optifade thing, not just Optifade, but the entire thing that Sitka did really changed kind of waterfowl forever, probably. Whether you like it or not, it just did.
Well, it 100% did. And I remember, and myself, Ryan, and Mark, we've talked about it a million times. When we first started buying Sitka, And the people looking at us and saying, well, man, that's crazy. You guys are nuts to be paying that kind of money for clothing. And
Right.
we were like, yeah, well, and the three of us are military, right? So we've done our time of being cold, miserable, and wet. And we had said, well, listen, yeah, keep buying your crap, and we'll still be in the field, and you guys, and now it has been that big of a shift, because those guys that, 10 years ago that was going to spend $20 on a shirt, that was max. Now that's what they're wearing. And Sitka, they totally revolutionized it. And Ryan and I talked just last week about the waterfowl industry and how hard it is to be able to revolutionize something these days, because like how can you improve upon things that's already been approved so many times, right? Like, how do you do that?
And when Damien is saying people were giving us crap for spending all that money on gear, by people he means our wives, for the record. But
True.
It doesn't matter what you buy, honestly.
I'll tell you, I was one of the first ambassadors with Sitka when they were doing all that. And what I got was I got a gore, like a shell of a jacket, and I got bibs.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do under them, layering wise or whatever. So I thought, I got them, and I was like, man, there's really not much to these things,
It's just thin.
The bibs really weren't, insulated. So I layered and layered with cotton, with just all kinds of crap. The first time I went out, I was just like miserable. I was sweating from head to toe. I was trying to take everything off. They taught me how to,
dress,
what an actual layering system actually is. Like, okay, now I get it. This is how to be comfortable,
And they dumbed it down for the average Joe too, right? Because you can go in on their website and you can buy the system, like from head to toe, from next to skin right to your insulating layer. You can just, hey, I'm an extra large, this is what I need, and buy the entire system, and you'll be good, right? So anyways, enough about Sitka. Let's talk about Tanglefree. So you've got some stuff there tonight that you want to talk about. So feel free to go for it.
I've got a bag that it's called the go-to bag. This one
sexy.
This one is wax. That's a personal wax job, by the way.
That's not bad.
This is this was a napkin sketch to a project, and it's just really one simple big tote inside, but it does have a pocket on the front as well. And then the kind of two shell clips, nice big clips on the side.
Is that like a side slung?
It is.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I think, what was cool about it, we found a bag. We used to be in Las Vegas at the SHOT Show. We used to be in lower rent territory downstairs. But what was cool about it was the military guys were right next to us.
Yeah.
And so we had, all the tactical stuff and everything. And it was always so cool. They would come out, we would always talk to them. And of course, a lot of those guys are outdoorsmen too, and so we would look at a lot of their stuff, and I was a big fan of like all their side bags. Yeah. And a lot of it, the real actual theory behind it was the range bags. Yeah. The guys would have these range bags that they would take to the range. And we asked for one. Of course, it was only, it was like this big. But I was like, can we make it this big? Can we add, all this stuff? We ended up getting a couple of those bags, and we actually tore them up. We actually cut pieces off, and we taped them together, and we pieced things together and things like that. And then we got, and this is going to sound bad, we got a bag designer. we found a guy who
That's
that
his role in life.
Orvis.
Okay, I know Orvis.
And some of the big
Yeah.
fishing, right?
Yep.
And we ran these ideas behind him, and he was like, "No, you can't have a pocket on the front. It's got to have mesh on the sides. It can't fold all the way over, so things can't spill out." All this
Right.
stuff that we were just like, I didn't know. I
Yeah.
was like, I knew what I wanted it to look like. I wanted it
Right.
to stay flat, so
Yeah.
it can fit up against your, but I also
Yeah.
wanted to go in between my legs or whatever in a layout blind.
Right.
We gave him this stuff, we gave him this information, and he kind of, came back with some of these little tricks and things like that or whatever. And it was just, it was cool. That was the first one, 2016, I think, that we went from napkin to final product. And then from there, that we knew we could do it. We knew it was possible. We knew we knew in the factories who we could trust, who we could go to, who we could do. And that's when Stahl came to us and said, "Hey man, I've had this idea for a long, long time." By no means did we invent the whole stand-up,
Yeah.
What we did, what we were able to do was take something that Stahl had a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he had pitched to a number of different people, but we were able to say, "Hey man, we are not middlemen. We're not going to take credit for this thing. We're going to literally let you pick up the phone. We're going to let you, talk to a guy named, whatever, and we're going to let you do this and actually come to, fruition on it." He was like, "Oh man, I don't know, he took his hat off, rubbed his, I don't know that." And I was like, we can do it. We did it with the go-to bag. We've done it with a couple products. Like we can do this thing. And that's how the panel blind happened as well. So
I know you just started following the brand about a week ago. So one thing that we always say is that we surround ourselves with good people. And when you've got a person like Sean Stahl coming onto your team, and you're literally saying, "Listen, here, this is yours. We'll back you and get it done, but this is your baby, and go with it," like that. That says a lot about the organization that Tanglefree is, and the amount of trust that you have in the people that you bring into the fold, right? So it's funny because I wanted to talk about this panel blind, right? Because when you had listened to the show that we had Sean on, and Sean had talked about this, what's old is new, and Tanglefree, when it came to the panel blinds, like that was a big thing for Tanglefree was your panel blinds, right? And now you've got this layout blind is what I meant. The layout blind was so big, right? And it drove a lot of your business, and that was because that was how everybody was hunting at the time, was at a layout blinds, and that was the only way you could hunt geese, was out of a layout blind, or that was the way people perceived that was the only way you could hunt. And then comes this panel blind that I remember the first time I'd seen it, and I was like, just how is it taken this long for someone to think about this? And I've never ever thought about it, but yet Sean Stahl had been using it for years and years and years. It just didn't go into mass production, right?
Yep. Yeah, people were making them out of cattle pans, I mean, there was a company called Pop-Up Blind that had sort of a one person kind of little, panel.
Okay.
And there were all kinds of stand-up blinds and things. And when I was a kid, we always hedge rode them. A lot of us, we would hunt with 4 or 5 guys, and 2 of them wouldn't have layout blinds, and the other 3 we couldn't afford 2 or 3. So we would do that. But the thing that I think has happened is I don't get to do it a lot, but I still love to hunt by myself on just really rare occasions or whatever. But man, there's nothing better than your crew, right? Your 5 or 6 guys, and Now to be comfortable, to be able to, be able to talk inside, and you have a lot of fun in there, and you're able to see things or whatever. But it's great with the panel blind. But I also think that there's something about the hedgerows and hunting edges that are kind of coming back around.
Yeah.
There are, when we hunt a lot of little geese in Kansas, and little, when I say little geese, I just mean little, but they're not little in flocks, right? I mean, we're talking
Right.
10, 15, 20,000 lessers, and that's a lot of eyes. And when you're trying to lay in them in the middle of fields and you're trying to do that, that's just a lot of eyes. They start spinning in different places. I think that there's less sometimes for them to see. And I can know that all 8 or 10 of us that are in, I at least know that they're covered. Of course, the guy's going to have a phone out because, I mean, Lord knows you can't do anything anymore and not film it. Right? But at least I know that we're hidden. And I know when they get on the back of me or when they quarter me, I at least know that blind is going to be hidden, and that's going to be one less thing for them to see. So I think that's coming back. Guides and outfitters, though, is really where it's at. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the winter going to guides and outfitters, introducing them to Tanglefree products and showing them how to use things. It's a no-brainer for a guide outfitter, right? Now, I don't know what level you're at. The guy comes into my lodge. I don't know if you're a weekend guy. I don't know if you hunt twice a year. I can now put you in one of these layout, in a panel. I'm going to make sure you're comfortable. You're going to be sitting in a chair, and better for me. I know shooting lane is easier to see in a panel, and you're going to shoot better. Yeah. And as a guide, I don't want to spend all day out there because guess what? I got to go scout again at night and redo it all. So the better you shoot, means more time in the field for me. And ultimately
a happy customer, right? The more comfortable he is and he or she he's shooting, dropping birds, the happier he's going to be. Less time out in the field for the guide. All that good stuff. So boys, I've been doing a lot of the chatting. So Mark, Ryan, Phil, jump in here if you've got anything for Eric, please.
Can't think of anything.
Oh, crickets. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Awesome. So I did want to ask you, so, we've brought them up a couple times. And I did want to talk about, now your relationship with Sean, right? Like Sean is like, I refer to him as Waterfowl royalty, right? Like the guy's been in the game for a long time, much like yourself. And he's been out there and doing this thing. And, when before we started to hit the record button and chatting, and we were just bouncing stuff back and talking, you and Sean are very much the same people in the way you think and the way you approach the industry, the business, right? Because like you alluded to, everybody thinks that this waterfowl industry is this huge, monstrous, money-making, money-generating machine.
Right.
But it's not like, and we're five dudes from Canada that's got a show. And I can promise you this, you can almost every episode where we have a special guest on, we can tie everybody into everybody's cross paths at some point. Everybody knows everybody. It is not that big of a world. So that a very long lead up to my question of like, what's your relationship now with Sean and how are you guys, pushing forward to try and, to steal your term, innovate the waterfowl industry?
Yeah. So Sean was doing a lot of stuff with Avery at the time, and Sean was doing his own producing and editing. Not that he doesn't anymore, but he was doing his whole own gig with I think it was what was it? Fouled.
Fouled Reality? No,
No.
what was it, Ryan?
Trying to remember too. Trying to think back.
Foul
It's not
Pursuit.
Fouled. Yeah.
Yeah,
Foul
Pursuit, yeah.
Pursuit,
Because
yeah.
Fouled Reality is a new one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sean has always been super smart about, as he would make his adventures through the Midwest and things like that, he would have networks, right? I mean, Sean, guys, Sean has scouted the scout before the scout has begun, right? He knows the guy who's put eyes on the field all the time. So Sean would do, these trips, and he would get in touch with myself or my crew, and he would always ask, if you had the birds or where the birds were, and that type of thing. And we would do the big video thing, and he would produce and edit the DVDs. And this was before I had met Corey with Tanglefree or anything.
Okay.
And it was it was cool, right? It was part of something. It was being part of something, and that was cool. It was like a team. I've always played competitive sports, and it's always been kind of a big thing with me and my family and everything. It felt like that. It was cool. It was like we had sort of a team and a crew, and we did our thing. So when I had met Corey with Tanglefree, and we were talking about, a name, and we were talking about sort of everybody wanted this big name in a signature series. I knew Sean wanted nothing to do with like a signature series, but I thought that we gotta get Sean. I'm not, like you said, his head's gonna be on the Rushmore of
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was reluctant. He was not going to be the first vote for Tanglefree, and I knew that going into it. I knew he was going to be the tough one at R&T. I knew that he didn't love all of the decoys. I knew that he didn't love some of that stuff. So I think they did like a vote there, and I know that he was a no, but I was always in his ear, like, you gotta trust me on this thing. Like, this guy, this family, they are going to let you do some things that you've never been able to do.
Wow.
If you have an idea with products, and you have an idea for a show and things like that, these guys are going to let you do that. Are you going to be financially incentivized for it? I don't know, but I'm just telling you, the integrity and the loyalty that these guys will show you, and back and forth, you got to give this a shot. You got to give this a chance. And lucky for us, lucky for Free, he did. But now, even before that, it was funny with the Avery days. Sean would travel with the Foul Pursuit trailer, and he would have all the all the Avery stuff hanging up, and you would hunt with him. And you'd have to put all that stuff on. You'd have to put your hoodie on, and now we've come so far with the R&T show and the things like that. So I get to travel with him maybe 65-75% of the time through the winter.
Wicked.
We have such a good time. The Goose Crew is something else. When we roll through a town, we roll through a town. It is cool. But we are we play hard and we work hard as well. But being around him, and just the way he approaches the scouting game, the hunting game, the hiding game, the things like that, is just cool. I mean, it's something people just don't get to see.
Yeah, and and you can't sell yourself short either, right? Because a dude like Sean Stahl's not hanging out with just anybody either, right? So he's pretty picky.
Our circle is pretty small.
yeah, absolutely. And it's got to be, right? Because you've got to have that same mentality. You've got to have the same approach to so Mark and I just on Monday, we hit up a little hole on Monday, and there was a few other hunters in there. and for anybody that's listening, that's regular listeners, they know Mark's mentality when it comes to hiding is second to none. So when we rolled in, you know, I'm driving the boat. Mark is telling me where we're going to park the boat and where we're hiding. So we hide, we do our thing. We see a ton of birds. We didn't get a ton of action. I think we dropped 5 birds between the two of us in an hour and a half or whatever until the hunt was over. But to the south of us, we had a ton of shooting, to the point that we thought, holy smokes, fellas are putting the smackdown on birds. And when we get back to the boat launch, nobody had shot anything. Nobody had killed any. They fired a lot of shots, but they didn't have anything to show for it, right? And Mark and I talked about it on the drive home when we were saying, you know, for the amount of birds that were there, and I'm sure fellas had their looks at birds, but they weren't hiding. They didn't put in the work, right? They did, you know, fellas just, well, I'll throw some decoys out and I've spent all this money on a gun and I've got this and I've got that. But the most basic thing of hunting is hiding so that they can't see you. And fellas miss it, right? So if your circle doesn't think the same way that you do, then you're obviously you're going to be let down at some point.
We could, you know, I could fill up 10 more episodes on just talking about times that we've pulled into places and pulled right back out. And I don't mean just into a town, because we've done that as well. We pulled into a town and just said we didn't like the people, we didn't like the area, but we pulled all the way into fields in the morning and just said that it doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. The guides or the people that maybe we got introduced to, something just didn't feel right. And we've just been doing it for too long that we thought, you know, it's just, if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right for us.
That's true. And you know, for us guys, we always say it in the military, you know, when that spidey sense starts going off and those hairs on the back of your neck start standing up, there's a reason why that's happening, right? And that's exactly what you're talking about right there. So like that circle has to be small, especially when this is, as much as we consider it fun and it's, you know, it's a way of life and it's who we are and it's what defines us. It's still work, right? So especially for you guys, because, you know, the social media aspect, the product, the research and development on products that you're testing when you're out on this, like all of this stuff, it's important. It's not, no longer is it just fun to get out and smash birds with your buddies, right? There is a work element to it. So you've got to set yourself up for success.
Yeah, and there's a work element to it. And then what's funny is when you try to have a little fun or you try to do something, the social media now, the hunters come out in droves. I mean, just you know, at Tanglefree, we sort of had a tradition. We got away from it over the last couple of years, but we had a tradition where we loved April Fool's Day. We thought it was funny because we thought we saw some of the comments from people, and it amazes me that if you don't want to wear Tanglefree and you don't want to use Tanglefree, that's fine. There's other brands, there's other people out there for you. I just don't know why you would troll the website and make a comment, you know. And we sort of thought that was funny at the time, and so we got into this April Fool's thing, and I drew sort of the short straw, and I made one that was about goose urine. And we had, I mean, you guys should actually find this because it's
I am going to go look for it now.
I remember this.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, I remember this very well.
Hold on, I gotta get.
This was the greatest prank of all time in the waterfowling history.
Fuck out.
Okay.
Meat scent.
Yeah, it was sent. It was like, yeah,
Like
exactly.
like deer estrus. It was the hottest thing on the market. Like, yeah, I remember this. Like, this was evil genius level stuff.
That is awesome.
We made up a whole story about the goose farm, right? And you guys, I don't know if you guys have seen, Stahl's got a big residential geese in his yard.
Yeah.
And so we called the farm the Allegan, goose farm. And we made this whole thing. We made a big bottle for honkers, a little one for little geese. And it was, we did the whole thing. We did like a video production of it or whatever. And it was me with these bottles. We had labels made for these bottles. So we thought it was funny. The comments coming in. And of course, people were, were saying, oh, it's April Fool's. But all of a sudden, I look up and my Instagram, my little DM was just like, like scrolling.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is going to be funny. And I opened it up and people were like, you're the biggest idiot I've ever seen. You're the reason that people, and I'm like, holy cow, this is real. Like
yeah, I've legitimately made people mad.
Yes, I've legitimately made people mad, and it just went to reiterate what we were talking about. Our circle almost continues to almost get smaller. Because
yeah,
it's just amazing,
there it is.
Look at
there
that.
it is. There it is. Oh, good to see. Good to see you. You closed out your tabs there, Mark, and you don't have your normal stuff on there.
Yeah, you're watching there, Mark.
Most recently,
Yeah, the pure goose. I cannot believe I missed this.
Yeah,
That is so awesome.
I'm
I'm voting right now that Tanglefree needs to bring back this April Fool's joke.
yeah.
Of in some big time.
You guys need to do one just for like mallards.
Yeah, something just mallard. Yeah.
No, shovelers.
Ooh, shovelers.
Hen estrus.
Yeah. But in a world where it seems like in this social media world and everybody is living and dying by social media these days, but everybody takes everything so serious on there. Like there's no jokes, there's no leeway for some, they're just joking around or this guy is a complete fucking knuckle dragger. Like there's no in between. Like it's hate or love. There's no in between.
And it was, we have to play the game. It was a necessary evil for us because we were also, not only were we sort of one of the first ones to do the Gore Optifade licensing, we were also one of the first ones to pull out from all the big box stores and say, we're done. We're not going to play the game. We went direct to consumer, and there's some others out there now that are direct to consumer, obviously, but we were one of the first ones to get out of the big box stores. And we were, number one, we were tired of, having to live up to certain measurements. These people would give you measurements and you had to have so much inventory at certain times and things like that to scale. You had to pay outrageous amounts to be involved in these people's shows and waterfowl shows.
Yeah.
And pricing. You could discount and sale only in certain places on certain products. You couldn't on other certain things that were, but these big box stores are also in charge of, being able to take your SKUs away at any time and bring somebody else in.
Right.
And we just thought it was, unfair. So when we went direct to consumer, boom, how are we going to reach people? We had to reach people through social media. We had to learn how to play some of those games. We hired somebody that's now become a full-time employee on how to do that, right?
Yeah.
How to keep contacting people with once they purchase things and they go on lists. And we've had to change the way we did things, but at the end of the day, it's been so much better because we're closer to the end user, and that's what we always wanted to do.
Eric, was that around about the same time that you guys rebranded and came out with the new logo? And because I remember the old logo,
Yeah.
and I remember when the new logo came out, but I don't remember a ton about the old logo, right? Like I remember it when you described it, because I wouldn't have been able to describe it because I didn't remember it, but once you described it, I did.
Yeah.
But when you guys shifted out of the big box stores, which had to be, in the eyes of most in the industry, had to be a crazy move because nobody had done it, right?
Right. Yeah, it was crazy scary because, you know, those big box stores, they're ordering containers, right?
Yeah.
Not boxes, containers. And you lose a container or two, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, how are we going to make that up?
Yeah.
But it was scary. We had to learn how to do some different things. That's when we really went on sort of, you know, trusted advisor sort of thing. We wanted to get out in front of guides. We picked some of these big outfits that were coming out, and we said, you know, let us roll down. It will be all of our own stuff, our trucks, our trailers. We'll show you these things. We were able to get in front of end users that way instead of, you know, coming into stores. We wanted to get shelf appeal business, right? The shelf appeal business is, you know, Dave Smith is going to win the shelf appeal business all day, every day.
Every day.
What he does is amazing. Period. We can't win that game with a duck decoy or a goose decoy. Not when you gave up containers, right? I mean, you gave up a container, so you're done. You're not going to win the shelf appeal thing. So we had to get products out in front of people, prototypes. We had to find people we could trust, right? We had to find people that we could put product in the hand. We found some in Kansas with Hurt Locker Outfitters, Christian Lock and those guys, and we put product in their hand. We said, you know, don't post it, don't put it on social media, use it, abuse it, get on a phone call with us, tell us exactly what it is. So yeah, it was scary stuff, but you control your own destiny, and that's what we always wanted to do. I wanted to design a product for an end user. Corey wanted to, you know, control his own destiny. So direct to consumer was absolutely the way to go, but absolutely had stumbling blocks for sure.
You know, anybody listening and they're probably thinking, well, that would be the way I would do it. And that seems like the most logical way to approach things. But, you know, when you're talking, you know, if you're walking into a big box store, and let's face it, like some of these big box stores, despite their majority of their inventory is all hunting related gear, the buyer, the purchaser, may not be a hunter, may not have a fucking clue about hunting. Yeah. And now you're going to an outfitter, someone that spends 200 days out of the year, their livelihood, right? So, you know, like you look at, so Ryan, you know, when you guys are out west, when someone comes and pops something down in front of you and says, listen, use it, let us know what your thoughts are on it. You guys aren't looking at shelf appeal, to steal a term from you, Eric, because they're not. They don't care. They don't care if it looks pretty. Does it work? Is it going to last me more than, you know, a dozen hunts? Because ultimately that's what it comes down to, because for these guides, they can't dump $10,000 into equipment that's only going to last them a year, and then they've got to go dump $10,000 more dollars, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. So for these people that are listening to the show and they're going, well, that's an easy decision, go to the outfitters and screw the box store. Well, you know, when the box store is ordering 10 sea containers worth of decoys.
Yeah. You also, you know, you became, I mean, in some ways we became our own worst enemy with some of the, because now you have a customer that walks into a big box store and they say, where's the Tanglefree panel blind?
Right.
Like, think of how many times that that has happened.
Right.
That guy has to say, we don't carry Tanglefree. And and the customer says, what are you talking about?
Right.
And so that store, what they do is they go to their independent sales reps, those reps who carry all these different lines. And you know what they tell them? They say, you got to make a panel blind. Right. You got to, man, these dudes are walking in here. They want to buy it. You got to make one. Well, you guys, I'm sure follow enough where in the last 30 or 60 days, you've probably seen an email or two.
Yeah.
Panel blinds.
Sure. Yeah.
And
sure
those are people in big box stores. So, and I'm not hating on it. We created some of that. We absolutely do. People want it. They walk into those stores and it's not there. So those big box stores want it.
Yeah.
But it still was the right thing to do. And
absolutely it was.
Probably being, more honest than I probably should be in saying things, but I wouldn't put it past other people probably thinking the same thing, controlling their own destiny.
Well, the thing is that, and by no means am I an expert in business or anything like that, but I am by nature lazy. So if something works, I'm probably going to copy it. Right. And that's just the way it is. If it works and if it makes money and if it seems like it's doing good, then you're going to copy it. That's just the way things go. And there's always a pioneer, right? There's always the first person that steps out of their comfort zone and does it and not sure of what the outcome is going to be. Yeah. And then everybody else sort of kind of trickles in, and it is what it is.
The biggest thing, I can think of these days is silhouettes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think that, and I won't say the name, but if you think this other brand invented silhouettes, you're wrong. You have not been hunting long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Stahl probably brought this up. One of my first big trips was, I graduated high school, 93, 95. I went to Southern Illinois, and
I graduated in 95.
There was, Tim Grounds was down there. There were guys down there. I mean, that was the place.
Yeah.
I went down to Southern Illinois and Crab Orchard and all these different places. And the decoys were made from, either a half a tire with the stake stuck down, with a white primary painted on the very back or something like that, or the guy made it out of wood, out of plywood.
Ryan, do you have your dad's there? Show that thing.
And what was really interesting, what was funny was way back then, I remember going to one of those clubs and one of the guys, one of these old men, smelled like cigarette smoke in his Columbia jacket, it was just awesome, said something about look at those skinny decoys. Why? Look at those skinny decoys, right? And so when we came up with silhouettes or whatever, we wanted to kind of give a throwback. By no means did we think we were inventing anything that, Real Geese or anybody had not done. We wanted an original name. We called them Skinnies, and it was a throwback to this guy. I wish I remember what his name was, but that kind of named it back then or whatever. But these things, originality, I guess you can put it in your term, you can say whatever you want, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I can't stop anyone from copying. And listen, when you talk about business overseas, you're not going to stop that anyway.
No,
I couldn't stop one of you walking into a factory and getting a product made probably over there. It's reality. So what you have is you have integrity and respect, and you have things like that in how you deal with people who've helped you design products, who've helped you along the way. How do I treat them? How can it be beneficial for both of us? That's what we can control. We can only control what we can control. It's kind of what we've done with Sean Stahl. That's what we've done with others.
Mhm.
You know, I have no right to sit here and think that we invented anything, you know, by any means. So
Brian, show up that what your dad made.
Yeah, so you probably still in high school at this point, but in the early 90s, my dad went out, great innovation, horrible marketing, I guess, because he could be a millionaire right now. But he went out and bought a couple of those Henrietta lawn ornament goose decoys, and he thought, man, it's like if I could get some fiberglass material, I could make my own full body goose decoy. So, and I still remember as a child in the summer, he'd be down there with a respirator on, and we weren't allowed in the basement because the fumes and everything. And anyway, so he made these fiberglass full body goose decoys.
look at that.
I still have one. So it's probably the only one left, right? Just some old matte paint. That's actually one of the Henrietta heads, but this is one of the heads he actually made, and you can see the raw fiberglass there.
Oh man.
Yeah. So he made, I don't know, 48 of these. And I mean, that weighs, I don't know, quarter pound.
Yeah,
to it.
ounces. You'd kill geese over that all day long too.
All day.
All day.
And we are, you know, by nature, us waterfowlers are tinkers, right? We spend 8 months in the garage and 4 months in the field. That's what we do. So designing products for that, you know, for that range of people, it is pretty crazy. It is another reason that you have to, your circle has to be a little bit small.
Yeah, of course.
If I have a sketch and I design something and I send it to 100 people, and I'm trying to go through this entire podcast without using the term pro staff. But if I send it to 100 people, I'm going to get 100 different opinions. And about 98 of them are opinions that I'm sorry, I just don't care about. So I'm going to
I prefer to use the term now. I like the term that some people are using. It's no longer promotion staff. First off, I like to call it promotion staff because when people use pro staff, they think they're really, really important, and they're professionals as opposed to promotion. But I like the partnership. That's the term I like that I hear people throwing around now. It's a partnership. You still have to carry your weight.
Yeah, Bob, you know, you guys had Bobby Hayes on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He and I had some great conversations about the, you know, promotional staff, and what the staff does, and where that value really is. And it's
and that's the thing, right?
A customer base. I mean, it can be a customer base. If you get a big enough one, it can be a customer base. If I get 200 people and I give them a t-shirt and a hat and I call them a pro staff, that is 200 customers. So if I come up with a new product, I might be able to sell it to 200 people, even if it's a piece of shit product. I might sell 200 of them, you know, to those guys. You got that all the way to, you know, I think, you know, ambassador has been overused, you know, by now or whatever. I think of it as, you know, we're direct to consumer. So what do we have to? We don't do shows. We're not invited to shows. So what do we have? I don't. So we struggle with it daily. Honestly, we struggle with it on why we need it. What do we have? You know, if one guy's got 10,000 followers and one guy's got 1,000 followers, but the guy with 10,000 followers has no interaction, it's like, it's a whole, you know, it's so crazy. What I think, and nobody's going to care, I think a guy who should be a promotional staff or whatever would be Sean Stahl for Tanglefree. Bobby Hayes for Tanglefree. Those guys have influence. They have people that listen to them. They're trusted. But that's not, you know, that's not the case. It just
a term that a term that we use a lot of times when we're talking to when we're talking to people and we're talking to industry professionals and stuff like that, a term that we throw around a lot is the return on investment, because that's the way we treat it, right? Like, so a company, they approach us and they want to do something. So that's how we treat it. It's an investment, right? So they're investing in us. They want to see a return. There has to be a return, or else their business is going to fail. And that's just the way it works, right? It has to be a give and take. And listen, you may think that you're at the top of this food chain when you're getting given stuff, but you're still at the lowest rung of the ladder, and you need to be able to work to show that the return on investment is beneficial to the company, right? And that's what people don't understand, is because, again, going back to that, everybody thinks that this waterfowl industry is this huge, monstrous money-making machine, and it's not, because you just hit on it right there. If you're going to look for pro staff, you're going to go with people that are established in the industry. So a Sean Stahl, a Bobby Hayes, and a Tim Grounds, God rest his soul. You know,
Yes.
Those are the people, because they have influence.
Yeah.
If Sean Stahl goes on and says, this is the best decoy, because I trust Sean Stahl, because although I don't know him that well, I'm pretty confident to say that Sean Stahl is not going to put his name behind anything unless he believes it works.
Yeah, he's not going to use anything that doesn't work.
So if he tells me that a decoy is the best decoy he's had, then I'm going to believe it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it has to work.
Well, it's you know, and we could spend hours with entitlement, right? I mean,
yeah.
Somehow you give a guy a hat and a t-shirt, and he decides he's going to change his title in Instagram and put that he changed positions and he's working for Tanglefree. And it's like, you got a hat and a t-shirt. You're not working for them.
Yeah.
You know, we can't stop that though. I can't stop that guy on his Facebook profile and putting, Tanglefree.
But that's the goal of this show though, Eric, and it is the goal of this show, and it has been right from day one. And the goal was to educate on every level that is waterfowl. So if it comes to how you hide, how you call, or to how you interact with industry people, it is 100% to educate people. So this is what we're doing, and hopefully it's going to fall on the ears of some person that thinks that, well, I think I'm going to call up Tanglefree and ask them to sponsor me after they listen to this show. Oh shit! Wow, I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what this show is supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I would tell people, doesn't mean don't contact us or anything like that.
Right.
I answer all of my direct messages and Instagram or my Facebook, and I love to talk. I could stay on here for another hour and talk. I mean, I love to talk about the stuff and ask questions, ask substance questions, ask things that tips and tricks, and give me scenarios. Hey, I just got permission on a family pond or something, and what do you think I should use? How do I go about it? I love that stuff. I would love to talk to people about that. Just leave the terms out of it. Leave pro staff out of it. Leave sponsor out of it. Let's just have open discussions. And then the more open discussions we have, the closer you might get to one of those circles.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's why
nothing like cannonballing into the pool, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to dipping your toes in. Eric, buddy, we are getting close. Well, we are at that 60-minute mark. Listen, you have the floor to talk about whatever you need to talk about. Tanglefree Products. what's coming up, what's exciting for Tanglefree. I know there's some stuff that you can't talk about, and I get it. We get it. Show me your favorite blind bag, because I need a new blind bag and I'm searching for a blind bag. Show me your favorite blind bag and what you're most excited about Tanglefree this season, and let's go. Floor is yours, buddy.
So favorite bag, and a lot of it is because of the design process and everything, the go-to bag, right? So it's got sort of a rigid back to it. It's got one big pocket down the middle, and licenses, things like that. This is actually waterproof. The rest of the bag is just water resistant. And then it's just got one big flap, right? It's on the ground like this. So in a panel blind, it's great. You put it right in the front. In a layup blind, you can put it right in the back, you know. So one big pocket. It's a drawstring enclosure. Everything kind of is in one area. But there is a front pocket too. So for you guys with, you know, the OCD guys with the organization, there is some organization pockets. But I'm a personal fan of just one big place. All my snacks, my calls, everything goes, you know, in one pocket. Within the shell holders, there's two side that fits both a 20 gauge and a 12 gauge box, and it's got clips to it too. So it's great. If you get in the trailer and you just grab one box or two boxes, you can put the box in there. You don't have to take the shells out of the box or anything like that. This is sort of a brown. Solid's been really big, you know, and everything. But of course, probably the biggest, you know, seller is the Optifade, right?
That's sexy. Oh, just switch that. Oh, right there. Look at that with the logo right on the front. That looks sharp.
Yeah. And it comes with, it also is in the back. It's right there's your timber strap. So you actually can just wrap it right around your tree.
Oh, nice.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
It comes in marsh too, right? The darker marsh pattern with Optifade. So, you know, we got the design. I wanted to keep some, I hope I'm saying this right, because I know you guys, Molly loops, right?
Yeah, Molly. Yeah.
Molly. So we wanted to keep that because we did get a lot of the design stuff from some tactical kind of gear. I wanted to keep that very easy with like carabiners and things like that. We've got a layout blind, and we've spent so much time talking about the panel blind. We still make layout blinds because there's certain places that you can that are still right for layout blinds. You need two buddies or whatever it is. We have a layout blind that's really cool. It's called the snap blind, and it is a layout blind with no pins. So we used snaps up by the headrests and down by the knees that are plastic molded snaps, and the bars just snap into it. It's about 34 seconds. So I've got video of myself putting it together, about 34-second takedown and put away. So no pins, you know, to lose or anything like that. That's a big one for this year.
My only question for that, because no pins and everything is snapping down, and I know you guys have done your research, your R&D on this, but those cold, so you know, like you're up in Kansas, Minnesota, those states like where that temperature drops so far, like how is the product holding up in that cold temperature?
Yeah, so what's cool is that was obviously our first hurdle. I went back to, you know, when we were at SHOT Show in Las Vegas, we made all these connections and things like that. One of our connections was this great guy that was down the way, fish houses, right? These pop-up sort of right? Ice fish houses, Minnesota.
The huts, yeah.
And the first thing we thought was like, you know, how's that thing not just shatter all the plastic and everything else? We had made a connection with him. We found out where he was doing this injection plastic molded clips and how they were doing the temperature and everything else.
Cool.
And that's where we got that. So those clips are actually from one of the largest fish house makers in the world.
Cool.
do these types of fish houses.
So,
kind of a cool
so what are we
aspect.
looking at? 5 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 30 Celsius, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
I'm gonna show you something just because so the boys can chat with you, but I want to show you something just on the design on that bag that you got going right there.
yeah, you bet.
So for your layout blinds, I haven't had a look at them lately. Up around the head area where your openings are,
Yeah.
do you put enough loops there for cam?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
something you look into?
We've got there's mesh all the way up both sides. If you took the mesh, it would actually go all the way above, above your head. And then it's got outer wire on the mesh. So if you wanted to, just come out a little bit, so if you're one of those guys who loves to pie face and see them when they're coming in, yeah, there's plenty of room up there.
Yeah. So what I was wondering was up around the head area, sometimes on a lot of blinds, people don't put enough loops for stuff in your grass or your corn or whatever. So
Yeah.
is there, do you look at that to make sure there's something there that you can hide around?
We do. There's loops all the way up to that mesh fabric. There are grass loops there, but what we did, we wanted to change directions of some of those. So you'll see that our directional of our grass on one way goes parallel to sort of the blind, and then down at the foot we wanted to do vertical so that it would run up for like corn stalks, things like that. So and we've tinkered with some bigger and some smaller. So like one loop being bigger and then the next smaller, so you can do big and small. We've tested and tried like a lot of that stuff, but yeah, we put all that into it. We did it didn't really take off. We did a flag holder one time that was the zip was on the doors, so the guy never had to get out of the door. We wanted the guy to literally be able to wave the flag in the actual door handle. We ended up putting them on the sides, right? And there's still flag holders, but yeah, we take all that into consideration on the layout blinds. Yeah.
I want to show you that just because of the bag that you were showing that you guys have. So this is my my jump rock from when I was in the military. I've retired a couple years now. So very much the same design. So everything's down low. So this design comes from the 70s in the Canadian military. But because everybody wants something bigger and better, or what they deem as better, but it's bigger, we've gotten away. This thing is worth its weight in gold. Like I could sell this thing for a small fortune right now because you can't get them anymore. So a friend of mine refabricated the bag and everything, but the case. So the reason why I wanted to show this to you is because in the States, the American Army they have a frame, and it's called, and I'm going to say it here because I really want to know if anybody's going to jump on it. It's called an Alice pack, ALICE, and it's the frame that the Americans have on their bags for their paratroopers. And it's lightweight, super tough. You can cinch so much shit to it. It won't break and drop it and the whole bit. So I just wanted to let you know, because that design, as soon as I seen it, I was like, oh, it's just like my jump rock. It's the same thing. And the only thing we would do is our sleeping bag and our valise would go on the top. So you take your sleeping bag off and you got all your contents right there. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's one really big buckle for your closure.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I carry it around with without it even being buckled, because it does have a drawstring as well. But and a nice big handle.
Yeah, I like that.
Very cool process. That design just that allowed us to be as original gets in this industry.
Yeah. And you know what, like I said, Ryan and I have talked about it. and all of us have certainly, but trying to revolutionize and be innovative in this world, it's hard now, right? Because there's so many there are a lot of great businesses out there right now that's trying to move the yardstick forward. So trying to come up with that next greatest thing. I'm not jealous of you. I'm not jealous of your job. I can tell you that, because it's got to be a lot of head scratching days. Eric, buddy, I'm sure we could stay on her for another hour to chat. But I'll cut it off here and extend the welcome that anytime you want to come back, please come back, because it's been a great show. I think it's been a ton of great information for anybody, regardless of where you are with your experience within the waterfowl industry. I think it's been a great show and a lot of important lessons and stuff. I can't thank you enough, buddy, because I reached out to you on a DM and you were 100% right. You answer all your DMs, you answer all your messages. It was just some dude from Canada that sent you a message on Instagram and asked you to come on the show, and you replied just like that and said, I'd love to come on your show. So I can't thank you enough on behalf of the boys. It's been great to have you on and great to learn some stuff about the industry as well.
Thank you guys so much. Anytime you guys need anything, or anytime you have a question from anybody on the podcast or anything, you can direct them to me. And thank you guys just for the opportunity. I love this format. Please keep doing this type of thing. Keep having open discussions, honest discussions. Just keep doing your thing. We need way more of this and way less of the smash factor YouTube. We need a lot more people like you guys. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We're going to go around the table. We're going to give the last word to you, Eric. Philly.
Eric, it was a pleasure having you on. This is one of those episodes where I enjoyed just sitting back and listening, which that actually doesn't happen too often. I usually talk a lot. But just be able to sit and just listen and absorb and everything, like, you're definitely a huge asset to the waterfowl community, obviously, especially with the Tanglefree family and whatnot. And just keep up the great work. We're looking forward to have you on again.
Mark.
Good chatting with you, Eric. Good listening. Great to meet you. Just before we go, I'm going to share one thing here. See if I can find it. So we were talking about silos. So I went to Maryland a few years ago. And these ones here are actually these are ones we were hunting over. But just like you said, those guys have been hunting over those.
That's probably another face on Rushmore right there too, by the way. Sean Mann.
It's Sean Mann, yeah. Yeah, big time.
Or Mark's been traumatized.
Well,
he brings that up every episode now.
Too. I like that.
So yeah, those ones there, those actually look good compared to the ones we hunted over. And it did, I gotta say, that traumatized me from silos for a while. But I've since hunted over them and we have killed birds, but not at that point when we went there. There was no birds wanted nothing to do with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Great to have you on, Eric. It was awesome. Like, I kind of want to echo what Phil said. It was just really cool to just sit back and listen to somebody in the industry in your position, just kind of like spitball about everything that's going on. And I'm a big fan of Tanglefree and looking forward to seeing what you guys push down the pipeline here in the near future. It's going to be exciting.
Eric, listen, you got to give a shout out to your kid in college playing ball right now, because I've been checking out your social media. You're a big ball guy, I know. So first off, where's he playing, and how's the ball season going?
It's going well. I actually got to see him for the first time this week, so that was cool.
Okay.
He's playing at Coffeyville. It's a junior college on the Oklahoma-Kansas border.
Okay.
And it's going well. They play a pretty heavy fall ball schedule before the season. So I got to see him, in the uniform doing his thing, and I'm texting him afterward. I saw his big bus in the parking lot, and I was like, man, you're doing it, dude. You're
right.
doing it. This is cool, you know. So yeah, shout out to Coffeeville. I'm sure they're not listening to the podcast. They are probably.
If they are, I'm sure the coaches are going to be fucking pissed.
I will tell you, he did get a day off for dub opener, so that was
Nice.
cool. He had to. He went with his head coach. So the head coach, he said, "Hey, the only way you're getting out of school today is if you go hunting with me." So that was cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Again,
awesome, Eric.
I appreciate it, and listen, I can't tell you guys enough. We need way more of these. I don't know if there's anything I can ever do to expose this podcast through whatever means possible, but we need more open conversations with people like you that are willing to listen to open conversations, not narrow minds where you guys are putting the questions in my, you know, I've had these before where someone asked me questions where they knew the answer to the question before they asked it, and they wanted it answered in a certain format. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate just the open forum. You guys allowed me to talk about whatever, so I appreciate it.
No, but and on behalf of the boys, and Dave is not here. We can't thank you enough because, and I hope that you can understand that for 5 guys out of Canada to be able to put off this show and to hear from guys like you, Bobby Hayes, Sean Stahl, Jeff Coates, who have all been great friends to us, have come back on the show. And I get texts from random days, and never in my life would I have thought that on a Monday morning would I get a text from Jeff Coates wishing me happy Monday morning. So you have no idea how much it means to us to hear that from you, especially up here, because so many people told us what we were trying to do would never work. And I know from Tanglefree, the same thing was said to Tanglefree. It's not going to work, and just perseverance and never giving up is the key, right? So I can't thank you enough. Everybody, this was episode 68. We had Eric Massey from Tanglefree on. Listen, we are exactly as advertised. We're not experts. We're not pros. We're a bunch of friends that love one another's company. We love talking bird hunting. We love shooting birds way more. And that's going to be tomorrow, Mark. We love everything about the birds, and we're not pros. We're not experts. So don't ever think that this is what we're trying to do. Eric, Tanglefree, thank you so much. Hit these guys up. Give them a like on social media. Buy some of their stuff, because I promise you it is good. And and from personal experience, I can tell you the customer service is second to none. So thanks so much. Big love. Until next week.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.